Hey, welcome back to God Inc. Today it's me, Doctor,
And me too, Cloudy, but Cloudy's fine.
and today we're talking about the Chicago Lorcana Challenge. We had a lot of fun. I played as a competitor. Cloudy played as an attendee. So today we're going to tell you our experience, what to look for out for future challenges, what we liked, what we didn't like. I'm going to go into more competitive stuff. Cloudy's going to talk about more attendee stuff. But without further ado, let's just jump right in. So overall, how'd you feel about the event, Cloudy?
Um, of course, I'll talk about more things in specific later, but as overall for the event, I think it was a pretty good event. To fellowship with the community and see a lot of the top players across the U.S. and other regions and stuff like that, and just to have everybody come in and be under one banner and to play the game and seriously talk about the game and discuss the game. It was a really cool thing, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I was able to, I believe meet one of the devs, and I didn't have a conversation with them fully, but I was able to meet them, and just being able to meet and talk to a lot of the players from different states and different regions, and see the way they think about things and the way they like to play the game and what they enjoy about the game was just a really good experience. So overall, I had a really good time. How about yourself?
Yeah, same. I really liked. Everyone was nice. There were a couple of stories of people kind of being mean to their opponents or pressuring them. But other than that, I mean, I personally didn't experience that. So, but yeah, I personally didn't experience that. So overall, I thought it was really fun. I thought everyone was really welcoming. I thought the judges had everything in order. I thought it was organized pretty well because I heard some horror stories from Atlanta, and they definitely made some adjustments, especially with prizing. They added tickets to your. So if you had so many points, you got like different ticket tiers, and they did not stack. So it's like once you're at that next threshold, you just got that next threshold's tickets. So that was a cool addition.
The competitor.
Yes, yeah, this is specifically for the competitive. So that I thought that starting with at least those tickets going into day two, if you got knocked out, was great. But otherwise, I mean, it felt like a long day. It's 18 games total if you're a competitor. With this best of two format, which I like a lot more. I don't know if you guys watched our last video talking about just the best practices of tournaments. We did do that. We followed our own advice, and it worked out for us really well. I was able to start the day off with a 2-0 in my first game, so I won that round and went into the next game like still kind of scared. I was kind of nervous until like rounds 4 or 5. I felt a bit more comfortable. But that's just me just worrying about stuff all the time. But anyway, the main thing of the day was eat. People were saying hydrate. There were plenty of bathrooms. I didn't feel like I needed to conserve my water intake compared to our local championship. And again, it was just a lot of games. So the only thing I didn't like about the structure of that first day was after the first 3 rounds, you got a break. I would have liked it to be like halfway through. We could have went like one more round. People were itching to play at 9:00, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna start at 9:30," or actually I think it was 10. But it was like, well, your player meeting, it's supposed to take 30 minutes. I was like, that's crazy. People were inching, ready to play. We already had our pairings. Everyone was already set down. So it's just, that was the only thing. It was kind of that slow to start, but they started the day with good news with the ticket thing, and I felt less pressure to get top 64, which, spoiler, I did not get top 64. I did do pretty well. I started at the top 20 percentile of the tournament. I got 209th place, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look at it while Cloudy's talking his thing. But overall, I felt like I had a chance throughout the whole time of the event. I took some key losses, and that's what knocked me down. So I needed exactly one more 2-0 at one point, and then I need to go. I need to draw for the rest of the time for actually getting top 64. But if I had two more 2-0s or 2 more round wins, then I would have been in there with no issue because of the way they cut it. It got cut off at 43 points. So that's the current math. The current math is if you make at least 43 points, 43, 45, then you'll make the top 64 cut as far as like getting the card. But it all depends on, there's like tiebreaker rules to see if you actually get in the top 64th spot. So just keep that in mind when you guys go to the Texas Challenge and the Las Vegas if you're staying domestic, because Toronto's right before Vegas. But yeah, that was my feelings.
Would you like to talk
overall
about your deck and like the decks how your deck performed versus the decks that was brought to the tournament?
All right, so let's go ahead and quell the thing right now. Green Steel was everywhere. It was Green Steel, Ruby Saph were like the most prevalent I've seen. Not everyone can pilot those for some reason. I feel like Green Steel is the easiest to pilot of the top decks. But I played against Emerald Steel the majority of the time. I went against 3 times. I went against Blue Steel 3 times. I only went against Ruby Sapphire once. And that was actually my first round loss. So by that point I was on the back foot, and ties weren't making it anymore. I would need to have 2 more round wins, and I only was able to get 1, and I had to draw 2 turns. So by the time I made it to the last round, it was too late for me. But I played it out, played it strong, and it was super fun. So again, like I said, 3 times I went against Green Steel. I 2-0'd it once.
What deck were you playing in this tournament?
Oh, what was I playing? I played Ruby Amethyst again.
It's one of those guys. One of those guys.
Yeah, but I mean, some people were playing against both of them, but like, you only really played against them if you lost early on. Like they weren't performing, and people were like, oh, like, you know, Ruby Amethyst is strong. Like, you know, like that's why I'm losing against him. It's like, you know, a lot of the time, it's if you have 2 good players, it's just a tough matchup, like between the players. I a lot with the deck that was circulating. I went a different way because I didn't really like the deck that was circulating with the Lumieres and the Flame Rider. My deck has no Flame Rider in it, and because of that, I actually got pretty far. But I felt like, I mean, I just played silly during that Ruby Sapphire match. That's and I'll get into more of that when we get down to it. But yeah, I played Ruby Amethyst, and I 2-0'd about. So my overall record, if you look at it round wise, I had 3 round wins, 2 round losses, 1 being the last round where it didn't matter to me anymore, and then 4 draws. So if I had about 2 more round wins and then the same record, I would have made the top 64. If I'd had no round losses, all draws, and then, you know, like shift over 2 wins, I would have been a pretty good seed in the top 64. So those are all things. I ended up with 33 points. You need at least 30 points to get 20 tickets. So day 2, I had to wake up at 6 a.m. I was sitting in line. The info desk opened up at 6:30. They gave us the tickets there, and then the prize opened up at 7 o'clock. So it was like a whole hour. Cuddy was up in the hotel room sleeping still.
Oh yeah, I was big sleep.
Homie said he was gonna go with me, and I looked at him, and I looked at I looked at the time, and I looked at him, and I was like, I might as well go down there because I'm not gonna pick this man up. So that was the thing. But again, the majority of the time I did go against Steel in general. My 2 round losses were against Ruby Steel and then Amber Steel in the final round. The Amber Steel was running the Stitch variant of kind of Steel Song. It was very interesting. It caught me off guard. I was not prepared for it mentally, so they just took both games from me because I couldn't get with the program, and I was at that time I was a bit tired, but I wasn't like making misplays tired. I was just like, oh wait, you know, I didn't really think about this matchup. Should have took a little bit more time, longer in my turns, but I didn't want to delay anything. The Ruby Sapphire guy truly got to me. For game one, it was really close. Game two, I knew what to do going in, but I just didn't apply it. I should have kept a fish hook when I instead of inking it. That is a key decision into me losing that game. Because if I developed that fish hook, I would have had a lot more options to go evasive and things like that. So that was just like I can pinpoint exactly where I failed in that second game, but that first game was really close. So that was my record overall. So I'm gonna go into what cards were saving me and were kind of hurting me. The Dolores was good. Sometimes I didn't want to develop her, even though they had exerted characters. And I'll link my builds in the description so you can guys take a full look of it. But I was running Dolores at a 2 of, and I only had 3 rabbits, so I only ran that one at a 3 of. But I felt like I got consistent card draw between those 2 cards and then the Friends of the Other Side. But Dolores, sometimes I was like, oh, I'm going to ink this and then play something else or what have you, instead of getting the card draw, because I'm not feeding for card draw, I'm feeding for like a game win, right? So even though developing her would give me 2 lore, I'm not dealing with their board and shutting them down and actually fully controlling the situation, which a lot of games, especially the games or especially with the rounds where I 2-0'd them, I had a lot of control in those games and just kept destroying their tempo, destroying their card draw opportunities. So that if I were to go into a different way, I maybe would have cut the Dolores, but I mean overall she did still feel good, especially that top deck scenario. So just I had her as a tech card, just in case I need to get off the top. I need to get some lore down. So that's a good card. I still run Peter Pan Shadow. I was raving about it last video. I love that card. I think it was really strong. In this build, I did add fish hooks. So it was like 2 shadow, 2 fish hook. Now I have 2 ways to get my characters evasive. If the Peter Pan Shadow case, it's if they have rush, but that's usually how I'm dealing with all these enemy characters. So, but yeah, and also, I guess since I'm already talking about it, Badass Fish Hook did work out really well for me. I did not add book. There was a build with this with spell book, and I kept that cut. But between those 2 cards, those gave me the options I needed to kind of ward off the opponent from making decisions that would have been very adverse for me, and also just put me in a better situation, especially against locations and things like that. What I didn't see and what I really needed in all my game losses is a Be Prepared. I only had running 3 in this deck. I would have found the space to run 4 because I was not seeing that card at all, especially when I needed it. And I'm sitting here with 7 ink. I'm supposed to be scary. And I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4 turns after 7 and still need to be prepared. So I lost the tempo at that point. I was still doing damage control. I'd be prepared with a wipe and clean, and then they had no cards in their hand, so it would have been really, really good for me. So yeah, this deck was able to go really well against discard. I was consistently able to draw against them, like a round draw. So that's, if you want a safe option, this is a safe option, and it can be improved upon. I did play arounds with some Lumieres and some frenemy. What's his name?
I'm sorry.
What's his name?
What's the name of the what's the card do?
Gains 3 lore if you have the most amount of strength.
Oh, Flynn Rider.
Flynn Rider, yeah. Ugh, it's just blinking out for a second. Yeah, so yeah, Flynn Rider. But now I'm going for a whole different. I'm going for like a McDonald's build, and we'll cover that when I feel like it's ready.
What he's saying is he lost so bad that he had to swap the colors. He said, "I can't do this no more."
I did not lose that bad. It was just I want to try something different, and especially with like I what I really came out of this was I feel more confident in myself and my plays. A lot of the players that I went against did end up in the Talk 64, and I saw them at the end of the day. They're like, "Wow, you were a really tough matchup. I'm glad we got to play," and they were really surprised that I didn't make the cut. So I felt that made me feel good. Again, everyone was really nice, and they really couldn't give me any notes. It was just the way the cards played at that point. So I'm glad that I had no regrets in that regard as well. So that was my 2 points there. The only thing I wanted to talk about was well, like what was like just overall again what was in the room. Like a lot of green steel discard that was everywhere. A lot of ruby sapphire, a lot of blue steel. So that's what you're gonna see probably when we go into the next challenge, since it's in July. So just be prepared for that. There's already YouTube channels talking about what to do, what to tech. Me and Clyde are looking at alternative ways to deal with this just by looking at the other cards in the set that have been underutilized. I feel like this is how we got, like in the Lana scenario where you have like the Cinderella deck with the Fairy Godmother, and now this is like a breakout deck that could easily be teched against, but no one's really, everyone's like too focused in on this meta. So we're just taking this opportunity to be a little more creative with the game. But that's what you're going to see probably in July, unless something else random comes up. But a majority are going to go with the clear define set denominating winners, which is sapphire plus steel or red, and then your discard. Your grease steel, your discard. I've been seeing a lot more perp steel after Zane played it, but yeah, those are going to be the majority. Everything else you're going to see about like 10% of the time, 20% of the time. Ruby Amethyst is always going to be just there. So you got to. This people are just very comfortable with that color combination. So just that's the only thing. And the only thing that I saw of spice, especially in the final rounds of that tournament, was the one green-red player, and I was a green-red player. So as soon as I recognized that he was playing green-red, I knew exactly how to beat him. But I would really committed efforts, and I felt like that was me on the other side of the table, just fighting through, trying to make this deck work, and then I 2-0'd him. But he was really nice. He was really nice. It was unfortunate that I knew exactly what to do into what his weaknesses were and stuff like that. So and that goes into another thing. If you have the opportunity to play, I know Pixelborn's about to get sunset, but if you have the opportunity to play against or play as the deck you're scared of, quote unquote, take the opportunity. Try to switch decks with your friends and learn how to play, because then you're going to see the weaknesses the most. So that's my biggest recommendation is as far as that point. But from now on, I'm going to try to report in like any kind of other tournaments we kind of do, especially since I got this newly found confidence in the game, and we're super excited to try to figure out some off the wall tech, and we're super excited to bring that and show it to you so we can have a big conversation about it, because that's the ultimate what we want to do. But speaking of conversating, our attendee experience by Mr. Cloudy, can you tell us what happened as attendee?
Just before I get into the attendee stuff, I will acknowledge that in the top 16 of the Chicago Lorcana Challenge, there was some purple green. I believe that was second place. And then there was somebody playing yellow emerald. Those two decks, they're fringe, but I do recommend just looking at like a deck profile or watching a little bit of footage of those decks just to see how they play, especially the lemon lime. That one, it can be disrupted, but if you don't have the specific tech to it, sometimes, especially these sapphire decks with such low strength on their cards, they can get under the seed and flushed out before they can really get going. So I did hear some people say like they weren't expecting it and they lost to it. So it did clearly make top 16. So keep that in mind about those decks as well. But the big three will be Ruby Sav, Sapphire Steel, and Emerald Steel. Those are the big three.
Yeah, I talked to another guy and he got knocked out round one because he knew about the underseed thing. So like me and Clyde were already aware of it, so we were like, oh, lol. So yeah, that's what we're working on now. We looked at each other like, oh, okay. That's what we're looking at, other color combinations, other different levels of tech, just try to see and try to figure out if there's more than that, because that's typically how you win these big things or get to a high place. There's like the bread and butter builds, but there's like these fringe builds that people aren't teching against, and you can really get a good thing going if you had the opportunity.
All right. So as for the attendee experience, first things first, I was going to put this as a con, but technically I guess it's not a con. It's just like a default. This is something that's going to be. When you come to these events as an attendee, be prepared to spend money. Do not come here thinking you can get in the door and do anything that's going to be fun or cool for free. That's not going to happen. There's no free events. Most people aren't really playing casually on the sides. I didn't really ask anybody because I went and participated in a couple events. But if I didn't have anything to do and I just wanted to play like on the side with somebody, 9 times out of 10, most people really wasn't trying to play casually unless there was tickets on the line. And that is something that is like, it can be I guess a deterrent if you barely could go. Like, okay, I can afford the ticket and I can just get there. It may not really be as worth for you to go. But if you have the expendable money, but you just couldn't get into the tournament or something like that, then by all means go and then participate in those events on the side, and you'll be able to have a lot of fun and be able to get some cool rewards. As for my personal experience, moving on to like the actual attending experience, for my personal experience, I did have a lot of fun. I will acknowledge that the location we were at, they put us in the downstairs international hall, and that place didn't have that it didn't have good cell phone service. So trying to update my melee in between rounds to see who I was supposed to be playing and stuff like that, it was kind of difficult. But the judges and stuff will help you with that. I was helped multiple times, and they was able to get me where I need to be. So I'm thankful for the judges. The judges were really cool, really nice. As for the events I played one sealed and 2 constructed events. I played one constructed and one sealed on Saturday, and then I played one constructed on Sunday. The sealed events, it's just like a traditional draft. I will say that when you go to these events, the attendees will be one of 3 types of people. You will get the person that wanted to be a competitor, but they didn't get the tickets when they dropped, so they just said, well, I'll settle for an attendee ticket and go with my friends. Then you get the people that kind of know what's going on, but their friends kind of like coerce them to come, like, hey man, just get an attendee ticket, come on man, just come and hang out with me. And you get kind of like those people who just don't really know what's going on, but they'll come and try to have fun just to see what it's about. And then you'll get basically like parents, guardians, chaperone type things, where they just go because a child came with them, or they hey, my boyfriend, my girlfriend came, I'm going to come and support them, but I don't really know what's going on. So that's the 3 type of people you're going to get. You can argue like it's a 4th type with like Disney fanatics, but typically they know how to play the game. So when I went to my sealed event, it was early. It was the first event. It started at I believe 11 a.m. And a lot of people on that first day, they pretty much bought every single event that you could attend. And when I was looking at the schedule, I obviously knew that I wasn't going to be able to do an 11 o'clock sealed event and then immediately do a 12 o'clock constructed event, because there's no time. Like, you're going to be doing 3 rounds. There's no time to do that. So a lot of people double booked themselves, and the first constructed event was a bunch of people that got buys because half of the people that are playing were in the sealed event prior, so they couldn't play and they had to forfeit their spots. And just don't do that, guys. You're wasting your money and you won't get the tickets. You won't be able to even get anything. Like, the judges were kind of cool about it, but for the most part, you're just kind of wasting your money and wasting your potential chances of getting tickets. So don't overbook yourself. Please try to schedule it. Look at your event and see how they're doing it. I personally didn't like that the events were best of 3. I'll acknowledge that the draft should be maybe best of 3, but definitely not the constructed. It took way too long to get through that. It's basically like you're spending the entire hour playing, trying to play through. And I'll talk about the constructed in a second about why I really didn't like that best of 3. But we had best of 3 in the draft. It's normal. I'm not gonna like try to toot my own horn here. I think I'm a better player than like an average player, I suppose. So when I sat down in front of these people and we were playing this draft, a lot of people had lists that draft is draft. You can't really criticize someone's list for real, but you can look at someone's card selection and why they chose the cards and what type of things they do for their curve. And a lot of people weren't really doing good constructed, draft decks, And I say that something that put the set 4 in a different perspective for me was the fact that set 4 doesn't really have that much mass removal. So when you sit there and you look at your cards that you get out of your packs, I think my tip to you as like a player, if you're playing a draft for set 4, is to get the evasive cards. Get that Pegasus 2-drop that's Ruby. Get yourself Peter Pan, Shadow Chaser. Get that evasive unit. Get that Sisu. Even though someone may not have that 1-drop, you like the one strength character to banish, just putting that down and having that evasive always matters in this draft, because a lot of people just literally cannot deal with it. It's not that much removal in the set, and then even if it is, you have to pull it from the pack. So you can depend on people not having like, oh, they gotta have 2 to 3 copies of swords. No, they won't. Oh, they're gonna have to be prepared. No, they won't. These are totally different sets. So you can play a lot more aggressive, go a lot wider, and not really have to worry about your opponent really having the answers all the time. I will say that on average, you should probably sit yourself around 5 ink as well. You try to keep your curve around 5. If you have some really crazy cards that are 6 and 7, maybe try to go further. But typically, we don't have draw engines or nothing like that in draft. You're just trying to play what you got. Getting to 5 ink and then being able to play your top deck is the best thing, I think, in the world. Also, getting yourself some rush characters, that was the thing that won me the game. I had a rush 3-drop Hercules, rush 5-drop Hercules, and 2 4-drop Luisa's, purple Luisa's that have rush. Those 4 cards alone allowed me just to disable my opponent and just keep them down. And then I was able to use the evasive units, and I ran a Shifu and things like that to just get me the little bit of lore I could have, and I was able just to easily beat pretty much all my opponents. I went 3-0. I didn't lose a single game. I didn't have a worry about losing the game. I just followed those rules with my deck building. And you can sideboard in between matches. So if you lose like a round, you can sideboard and switch some things around and try to see what you can do. I didn't really get any major legendaries. The only legendaries I pulled was a Bodyguard Mickey. And I put him in the deck, but I never used him. He never got a chance to be played because I never really got over 5 ink. I just relied on these rush targets and then controlled the field and relied on my evasives. You want to get that 1-drop Casa, in Kanto location, so you can have that. That's a really good card if you can get that in your draft as well. I think cards you don't want to necessarily go for that are good in the grand scheme of the game, but in the isolation of set 4, don't go for Scuttle. You're not going to be able to consistently hit those item drops as much as you think you are, because your deck is random. So like, unless you got a bunch of items out of your packs, don't get the Scuttle. Don't get the Queen and think you're going to be able to look at the top and get your thing. You're probably not going to hit, actually, guys. You're trying to run the Aurora that gives your items ward, but you don't really have that many items. You don't have any items at all. So it's like running that card is like you're just looking at basically stat lines. So getting the stat lines that matter regardless is what I recommend always. So evasive, rush, you can argue ward, but just trying to hit that evasive, that rush, and high questers. I was running the Rapunzel, that quest for 3. She may not be that good in the regular game, but she's really good in draft, because if you can't kill her, I'm going to quest for 3 and then quest for 3 again, and now I got so much of an advantage that I'll just be able to run away with the game. Now, after the draft, I played the Constructed a little later, and when you get to the Constructed, going back to what I said about the attendees, it's the exact same thing, where you have people that know how to play the game really well, but they just weren't able to get a competitive ticket. I guess I'm in that bracket. And then you have people that kind of know what's going on, but they're not that good, and they just like, well, I'll go to this event because I like the game, but they're just like, they play casually. And then you have people that don't know what's going on. And I will say I went 2-1 in the Constructed, and the first round I played against a mirror. I played Blue Steel, and I didn't really upgrade the deck fully. I just took some cards we pulled from a couple of boxes we got, like a Trove in a box we got, and just pulled a couple packs around, put some Fortis Spears in, put the blue Ariel in, and put in Chimpo, and I think I did like one other thing. Greystone Dragon. That card is the MVP of the set in high key. I'll explain that in a second. So I played against a Blue Steel matchup, and it was a sweet old lady that I played against, and it just seemed as if she knew how to play the game, as in like readying your cards and exerting them to quest and singing songs and things like that, but she didn't really understand the synergies of the deck. Like, she was asking me, don't I take damage on Smee, but my board state was 2 Cogsworth in the Smee, so I was like, I'm clearly not going to take the damage here, which, I mean, obviously these things can lapse your judgment, but she was playing my exact deck. Like, I'm seeing the exact same cards in the exact same orders, and it's like, if you play the game, you kind of really would know this. I'm not criticizing her play, it's just like, I knew that, okay, these aren't the top players, so how good am I really here? But the next 2 matches put things into perspective. I played against both matches. I played against a Ruby Sapphire, and those guys I played against, they're really good. They're really nice. They're really good players. And Honestly, I just treated those matches like a test run to see how can I fare in this matchup, because I felt as if Steel traditionally loses that matchup, but after looking at the power of Greystone Dragon, it's really more like a who goes first. Because if I chose on the second game, I lost the dice roll, and I lost to the my in the round two, I lost to the Ruby Sapphire player in the first round, the first game. And so the second game, I chose to, when I used Scuttle, I pulled a Fishbone and a Greystone Dragon. I chose to keep the Greystone Dragon. I put the Fishbone back in my deck. And I played that. And of course, he was sitting there banishing, 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 banishing. And I found myself being able to just get one lore every turn. And with Fishbone, I was at the top deck for, I want to say 5 to 6 turns I was top decking, but I was able to always ink because of Greystone Dragon, and I was able to push my advantage early, and I was able to get an early dime out before he be prepared in my board. Then I was able to just use that Greystone Dragon, ink every single turn for free, and just play the top deck, whatever it was. So I play like a Smee, dime it, he kill it. Smee goes to the Inkwell. Play a Beast, dime it, he kill it, goes to the Inkwell. Play Benja, move their ice block, they kill that, or banish it. I then do the same thing, Greystone Dragon, put it back into my Inkwell. I ended up winning that game. He was about to finally slowly overcome me, but I was able to finally top deck an Aerial and close the game out. But I was looking at my Inkwell, and I thought that was my deck at first because I had 22 cards in my Inkwell. And I was like, wow, this is actually like insane. So I had so much ink that it was like I could have hit a whole new world. I could have hardcast a whole new world and played a whole litany of things to win the game. And I think Greystone Dragon have that ability where you're in these longer matches, because Ruby Sapphire, we were never able to fully finish a game. And round basically out of those 3 matches. It was like 1-1, and then we would just kind of like see who was winning that third game and just give it up because it's a kind of casual thing. I really didn't care that much. But those matchups will take you literally an hour into an hour and a half to, if you really had the full time to play it, no matter how fast your brain is thinking. And it's like there's so many decisions that both players have to make about inking and what team they want to draw, and the Sapphire players trying to keep scrying down their deck. And I guess the Ruby Sapphire players trying to scry down their deck, and the Steel players trying to see which ways they can make the removal work to equate to get the play out, to try to get the whole new world, to try to get the thing. And you guys are just kind of stalemating for so long until somebody finally slams the Tamatoa, and the other person finally doesn't have an option to deal with it, and then they say, okay, I finally get to win the game. And every single time I played the matchup, it was literally like we would have been there for an hour and a half, maybe hour 45 minutes if we played the entire set out. So the fatigue was definitely setting in, just like with time on those decks. I can only imagine if I played Blue Steel in the tournament, I would have been crying after round 4. Because if I played Ruby Sapphire more like in those early rounds, I'd have been crying. After that, though, you get your tickets. Judge is really nice about that. I went over to the prize area, immediately got a Rapunzel when I got 20 tickets, because I was like, I don't know if we're gonna keep winning. I was feeling really good after the draft, and I didn't know if I was keep winning, so I got the Rapunzel. And then I did the constructed and was winning a little bit more still. So I was like, okay, well, if I just play again tomorrow, I'll be able to get the Cinderella. And that's what I did. On the Sunday, I went and played the first round just to get my tickets. I was letting other people get tickets because at the end of the day, I want everyone to be able to get the cards they want and the things they want. So I played against Emerald Steel. And yeah, Blue Steel against Emerald Steel. If they're not teching in Cove or Ursula, you're honestly fine. Like, if you hard mulligan for a Baboon or a Swords, and you just try to get yourself, you can even argue Greystone Dragon, because this card also is really good in discard, against discard. You get that thing out, they can Aladdin away my Greystone Dragon. That is true. Luckily, the guy I faced, he didn't hit any of his Aladdins. He had 3 in his deck, he didn't hit any of them. So if your Greystone Dragon can stay out, the longer it stays out, the better it is in the discard, so you can just keep getting these characters that they forced you to discard into your Inkwell, and they can be uninkable too. So it was like, okay, that's fine. I'll just throw away this Aerial. I'm gonna be able to ink it through the Greystone Dragon. So that was really good just to keep myself in the game and to keep my top deck even more deadly. Once you get yourself a Cogsworth out, you don't have to worry about the discard matchup. Get yourself a Cogsworth out, you're completely fine. Once you top deck a Swords, sing the Swords, wipe their board. You have top deck, you just completely beat them. You get 2 Cogsworth out, I don't worry about any Steel matchup post 2 Cogsworth. 2 Cogsworth is just steel killer. So that's why I think blue steel is probably the best combination with steel. Even though emerald steel is really, really good, blue steel, just the ability to say double Cogsworth, and the steel player just says, well, my entire defensive plan is shut off. It's like, yeah. And then you get to sing a whole new world, sing swords, sing Zeus, sing whatever you want, and clear their board. They can't do anything because they have no rush or anything like that, and you just get to walk away with the game after that. So I could have beat the guy, but we decided to just do 1-1 in the split because all I needed was a couple tickets, and got my Cinderella, and I felt pretty accomplished as an attendee, being able to get some pretty expensive cards. There were people at the tournament telling me to sell it to the vendors. I didn't do that, and I checked the price of the Rapunzel when I first got it. It was about $230. People are telling me to sell it to the vendors. By the end of the day, the Rapunzel dropped down to $200, and the vendors were not trying to give full money for the cards, obviously. So I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to hold, and I'll chill on this. There was also people, begging for tickets. I ain't going to say begging, but begging. Because they were coming out, and they're like, man, I'll give you $10 per ticket, $15 per ticket. Hey, I'll give you an enchanted for 20 tickets. I'm like, man, that's great. But I'd rather have the memory and the like. I think the challenge cards are just cooler than that, or the challenge items are cooler than that. So I'm not giving up my playmat attempt to give an enchanted, or I'm not giving up my challenge exclusive promo for an enchanted, where you can pull these from a box or buy these from any person. Plus, I feel like that defeats the purpose of the game, guys. I mean, I could get it. You want to profit, and you want to make you be like, oh, well, I profited on this trip, or this trip paid for itself, or whatever you want to say. But at the end of the day, man, we love the cards, and we love to have fun with the cards. So it's like, why? I just was like, I don't really want to sell these things. But there was like a community that was in there that was telling, like, that kind of like what's the word to say? They suggest you do these things. And, if you want to do that, cool. If you don't succumb to the peer pressure, guys. I promise it's not worth it. The prices will definitely go up in the future. Just keep your cards, smile with them. You earned them. And that's what made the trip worth it for me. It's like I came in just expecting to have a cool time. Got these events, played them, did way better than I expected. And I was able to get 2 cards that are really cool and really awesome. And I'm really happy about that. I will say,
the word you're looking for is advocating.
Advocating, yeah, that's the word. That was the word. Now, I will say, as for like hygiene and things like that, it didn't stink until post, like for the downstairs area, it didn't stink until post like 3:00. Then the sweat and the nerves and stuff started to. Yeah, I started to smell. I started to smell a little smell after that. And then I went back up to go see Doc, because he was trying to finish up in his first day. I went up there to see him. Saying, I don't know, he didn't say it was that bad. For the amount of people that was in the area, it was not that bad because, they
were blasting the AC.
Yeah, they were like it was really chilly. Like it was cold downstairs, but it was chilly upstairs. And I get it because it would have smelled like bounce that butt, like bibbity bobbity up there. It would have been really, really bad. So I'm happy that they did that. I will say that even I was close to some people, like, when you're playing your matches and stuff like that, you're next to somebody. Nobody had like a stench that made me like audibly go like, oh God. But like, so I will say that traveling Lorcana players seem to be cleanlier than locals, seemingly. So that was cool. I do agree with the whole break thing that he said. I wish they had like a official break time. And everybody just went on break.
Yeah, that sucks for y'all.
They didn't really synchronize these things. So Doc got some food and he got me something because I was in the middle of my constructed rounds, and he put it in the refrigerator in the room. And this is before I knew we had a microwave in the hotel itself. So I ate a cold burger after because I was like, man, I don't have any time and there's no microwave. So like, dang. But it happens. I wish we just had like a scheduled recess time that's just like, hey guys, we synchronized it to where we got this whole hour right here, go get some food. But I guess it's not that big of a deal, but it was a little tedious that happened like that. I will acknowledge that they do have easy access to water. They had water cups and water like I guess like water fountains. Yeah, I guess water fountain things, like jugs of water.
Machines?
Like, yeah, water machines everywhere, and being able to get some refrigerated water, drink that in between rounds, just a cup of it, just to get yourself, your throat from being dry.
So it also gave hot water too, but
Oh yeah, it did give a hot water. I'm not doing that, but yeah, you can.
And the hotel had we're selling food like right outside the doors for us. So,
yeah, the hotel did do a good job.
I wasn't sitting in that line.
Yeah. For the competitors, they did have food right there outside the door, and there was a food inside of this hotel as well. If you want to leave that specific
compared
area,
to the rest of the area as well, it wasn't super expensive, but like cheap.
Yeah, you gotta be prepared to spend money. Be prepared. Be prepared. You gotta use all 7 of your ink when you go to this. When you go here, you will have to be like,
for sure.
How much dollars? That much dollars. So, and if you're planning on like not staying at the hotel place, or if there's not a place to stay at that location, I'm not sure where the next challenges will be held at. At least in Chicago, there was like pretty expensive parking.
Fort Worth was already revealed. So yeah, check on all that stuff before.
Yeah.
We were on the way there, and I was like charging the car, and I realized that there was a room rate. So check out the links, especially if you're to get your ticket. Check out the links on the link tree. They usually try to secure a discounted rate for the group for the stuff. So check that out. That would have been really nice to know. I'm not gonna lie to you. We didn't overspend, but it was like we spent more than we had to in that one. But yeah, so just try to. They gave us the discount, like the discounted parking overnight, because it was like $40 a night for parking, but for the group rate it was $30. They did like valet parking there and stuff like that. So yeah, look at all those links ahead of time, and you should be a lot better compared to my experience. I didn't mean to cut you off, Claude. If you had something else.
Honestly,
about that.
I was kind of like, I guess I'm not gonna say like stressed or like sad about like I mean, this is standard now. I know it's standard. The whole like aspect of the events, you will have to pay to play in these events, which I mean it makes sense because you will be getting tickets to get product and stuff like that. Be prepared for that. The sealed events, you will be paying essentially for the packs to play because it was about $45. And the constructor, you're gonna just pay $10, so it's just to pay to get in and play. And they will give you.
They do give you tickets.
They will give you tickets to play, and then as the attendee, they will give you tickets when you go to get your badge. They'll give you tickets, so you'll have some tickets to start with. So I guess that's your free tickets, but all you're gonna be able to get with those is like a starter deck or some packs. So you have to play an event just to even afford like a play mat or something. And I'm not even talking about Cinderella play mat. I'm talking about just like the Joe Schmo, Moana, Stitch, Tinkerbell play mat, like one of those.
Wasn't the set already play mat? Yeah.
Yeah, you need to at least play one event. They did have like, what's the word, like just like startup events, like like hey, we're about to do a draft over here, guys. They had those type of events. Unfortunately, they weren't as popular as you would think. It was a lot of times where
as well.
They were like begging people to play. Like in the first day, they were like, "Hey, anybody wants to play draft? We need like 2 more people. Come on, guys, please. We need a little more." And I'm like, I'm already in like the official event, and like they were needing people. So if you want to go in and you didn't pre-purchase any events, that's fine. You can come in and then they'll have some events that you can just do there. I didn't see anybody playing Villainous, but we weren't looking that hard on day 2. But day 1, I didn't see anybody playing the Villainous game, so I don't know if anybody bought into that.
I think it was mainly day 2 that played Villainous.
Okay.
But yeah, like Claudia said, you weren't seeing anybody participate unless they pre-bought it, because there was one up on like a Thursday, and then you were registered, and then like they opened up some more slots, and then they're like, but they still had like those overflows, but you weren't going to really get to the overflow until you get to day 2, especially with tournaments that did not expand the amount of players that they supported, like if they couldn't get the venue to give them more space. So just keep that in mind. Day 1 is going to be a dice roll.
Yeah,
I'm getting extra.
That's the
people.
I guess if I had to say a critique of it is the fact that day 1 the attendees had the option to play like pretty much all these things, but there's not that many people like it's pretty much only attendees are gonna be playing, and attendees it was like what was it 1,050 players playing in the tournament or whatever.
1,050 players
in the competitive in the main tournament, and then it had to only be like 100 and something attendees. Like it really wasn't that many attendees, and then you have like half of those people are, like I said, they're just supporting the competitor, so they really weren't trying to play. They're just like, I'm here to make sure they're all here. And so a lot of the people that were like playing these games, you had pretty much the same people playing all the events. I didn't play against anybody the same person, but I was sitting next to the same person type of thing. I will acknowledge if you are scared, like you're kind of shaking about the events, like, oh, I don't want to, like, will I be able to perform, blah, 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 blah. Don't take it too serious, and multiple people can win these events. When I 3-0'd in the draft, I knew another guy who also 3-0'd, and I saw this kid that played next to me, he also 3-0'd. So you can have multiple people, quote unquote, like win the event. You can have that. Same thing for the constructed. Multiple people could go 3-0 and stuff like that. So don't be like, oh, I gotta play all these rounds. No, you won't. Just only play 3 rounds, and several people can win. So it's like if you go in there with your friend or something like that, you guys may not even play. So don't stress that either. Going back to the previous topic about since the attendees amount was so low and you could do things on that day one, but it's like, well, my friend's upstairs, like I want to play Villainous with him tomorrow. That next day the events closed down at what, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock?
Yeah, closed pretty early.
So you can't even sit there and be like, oh, let's try to spend our day doing this. It's like, not really. Like you can, but not really. Like you're probably going to have to get up pretty early on Sunday if you want to spend it doing like a lot of playing the other events that were out there. So I'll acknowledge that.
So instead of pretty much day 2, we got another Rapunzel. Cuddy already had an event signed up for, so he went to that one, got his 4 tickets. We got the Cinderellas, we got one of each. And pretty much the rest of the day we were like kind of chilling, talking about next decks, talking about video ideas, and we actually beat Ursula.
Alright, man. Side note on this Ursula's what is it, Ursula's Revenge, or what is it called?
Ursula Deep Trouble or something
Trouble,
like that.
Yeah, Deep Trouble. This quest, the decks they give you are borderline worse than starter decks. Like the Ruby Amber one is alright, but that broom deck is barely functional. The only reason why you can play it is because you have so much recursion of the brooms, and you can like kind of get these brooms out, but the brooms do absolutely nothing to these characters. The things that Ursula can play in that little thing. Alright, I'm not gonna go into it that much, but the cards that they gave her, brooms can't do that much against. Like if you guys ever get this thing, the cards they gave her are ridiculous. Capsize should never have been put in that game. If you know, you know. Capsize should have never been put into this lady's deck. That one is brutal. Yeah, and if you want to beat Ursula past, if you beat her in normal with these decks, shake my hand, you're a good player. That's how it really feels. And if you beat her on hard and you're running the base decks they give you out of the box, listen, man, I need to see you record it, and I need to see exactly how you beat her. I need to see what she drew. I need to see what you drew. I need to see exactly how you beat her. No cheating, no restarts, no extra mulligans. I need to see exactly how you did it, bro. Because beating her on normal with those decks seems like an impossible feat. You're going to have to, honestly, to beat her on the harder difficulties, you're probably going to have to build a deck specifically to fight her. But enough on that. Chicago event, ultimately I had a lot of fun. I don't know about you, but I guess I would go to another one, but with the knowledge I know now, I know like you got to prepare some dollars if you want to really like get in there.
Right. Those are the main things that I want to talk about today. So honestly, in the comments, guys, let us know if you were there and how you felt.
If you're planning on going to a challenge, if you been even to the Atlanta one as well, just like let us know if you went, how your experiences was. Also,
yeah, for sure.
Side note: if you went to the Chicago event, let me know about how'd you feel about the food, the local food, not the hotel food, but the local food, like like Portillo's and like Gordiano's and stuff like that. Like, just let me know. That's a question. Just put in the comments. I'm not judging you or nothing like that. Just let me know how you felt, because. So people was hyping up the Chicago food, and redacted. Anyway.
But yeah, that was it for us, guys. We'll see you guys next time with another video. We're probably gonna go over some decks that we're working on to try to get some better ideas out there. But yeah, again, this has been God Inc. I hope you had a great time, and we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.